The plan itself calls for an immediate ceasefire and the release of hostages within 72 hours. Specifically, Hamas would free 20 living Israeli captives and return the bodies of others believed to have died in captivity. In exchange, hundreds of Palestinian detainees held in Israeli prisons would be released. Aid would then be sent into Gaza, and governance of the Strip would be transferred to an independent Palestinian technocratic body. On paper, these steps are aimed at reducing tensions and addressing immediate humanitarian needs. But the fine print raises difficult questions about power, legitimacy, and the future of Palestinian self-determination. One of the most contentious points is the demand that Hamas disarm and relinquish all governing authority in Gaza. For Israel and its allies, this is seen as essential for long-term stability. But for Hamas, disarmament means giving up leverage not only against Israel but also within Palestinian politics. The group has long presented itself as a defender of resistance. To suddenly agree to disarm, without guarantees about sovereignty or the status of a Palestinian state, could erode its political base. This is one reason why the group's statement welcomed negotiations but left out any reference to this specific demand. President Trump has described the deal as a last chance for peace. His administration has amplified the urgency, with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt warning that rejecting the deal would bring grave consequences for Hamas. Trump himself declared online that there will be peace in the Middle East one way or the other. Yet, history shows that imposing peace deals with ultimatums can backfire. While pressure may accelerate decisions, it can also entrench resistance. The international community is watching closely to see whether Trump's hardline rhetoric leads to genuine compromise or sets the stage for deeper conflict. Israel's role in this unfolding drama is equally complex. Prime Minister Netanyahu publicly welcomed Trump's framework, but he quickly reiterated his opposition to a Palestinian state. This reflects long-standing political positions inside Israel, where security concerns dominate and the idea of statehood for Palestinians continues to divide. For Netanyahu, agreeing to a plan that hints at statehood risks alienating his base. Yet rejecting it outright could increase international pressure. This delicate balancing act underscores how peace plans are rarely just about the text of the agreement, they are also about political survival. The Palestinian Authority, which governs parts of the West Bank, responded more positively. It called Trump's efforts sincere and determined. For the PA, which has often competed with Hamas for legitimacy, the idea of handing Gaza to a technocratic body could strengthen its influence. But Hamas sees this differently. If it withdraws and disarms, it risks losing its identity as a central political actor. Thus, while both groups claim to support Palestinian rights, they interpret the future of Gaza in very different ways. This internal Palestinian divide complicates the possibility of presenting a unified front in negotiations. Humanitarian realities on the ground make the urgency clear. According to Gaza's health ministry, more than 66,000 Palestinians have been killed since the conflict escalated in October 2023. Israeli strikes continue daily, with civilian casualties mounting and infrastructure collapsing. The UN and humanitarian agencies have repeatedly called so-called safe zones in Gaza meaningless, as even schools and shelters have been hit. For families trapped in this cycle, political debates feel far removed from the reality of survival. This is why aid corridors and immediate ceasefire measures are central to any meaningful peace effort. From a wider geopolitical lens, reactions have been mixed. European and Middle Eastern leaders have cautiously welcomed the proposal, framing it as a rare opportunity for de-escalation. Yet many experts highlight the weaknesses, the lack of clarity on Hamas's long-term role, and the absence of consensus on Palestinian statehood. Momentum can be a strength in diplomacy, as the BBC notes, but details are often the weakness. Without a shared vision for governance, borders, and security, ceasefires risk being temporary pauses rather than steps toward resolution. The question remains whether this plan is a bridge to peace, or just another patchwork truce. Trump's heavy use of social media to announce deadlines, issue threats, and frame negotiations adds another layer. Supporters argue that his blunt communication forces urgency and transparency. Critics warn that it oversimplifies complex issues and risks inflaming tensions. Hamas, for its part, described Trump's statements as encouraging while still insisting on further negotiations. This suggests that even within adversarial politics, rhetoric can shape expectations. Still, peace cannot be sustained by posts alone, it requires mechanisms of trust, monitoring, and accountability that go beyond social media soundbites. At this stage, the future of the plan remains uncertain. Will Hamas formally accept disarmament? Will Israel commit to easing its siege and supporting Palestinian governance by technocrats? And will external actors, regional and global, help ensure compliance? These are the defining questions. What's clear is that ordinary people in Gaza and Israel are paying the heaviest price. That reality makes finding a workable solution not just a political challenge but a moral imperative. As observers, we should remain critical, informed, and engaged. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because understanding global conflicts begins with spreading knowledge.